Next, we have for you IRF research presentation, understanding what drives shoppers' needs and aspirations in the digital age and delivering experiences in the phygital era. To present this, I would request Mr. Anurag Mathur, partner and leader, consumer goods and retail, PwC strategy, and to kindly come on stage. Please welcome Mr. Anurag Mathur with a huge round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you. I think after those, some of these very exciting product launches and new solutions, the idea, and we've seen this forum grow every year, so I'm pleased to be here again this year and build out more insights, more things, gather more of how things are changing. So I would like to take the next 10 minutes really just talking through some of the what we saw this year and in the retail world and what are consumers really doing. So we have this large global consumer research that we do every year, this year with 27,000 consumers across the world, across multiple countries, and to try and understand what's interesting, what's going on. But I think the most interesting market in the world is probably all of you here, India, the most exciting retail market right now in the world. I would say, given the last 10 odd years of modern retail having grown built out over the decade, this is a time when the first time we saw the first 5 years, the modern retail players trying to struggle, build out business into India. The next 5 was spent trying to manage the onslaught from e-commerce and figuring out how to deal with it, how to build behind it, how to get online, how to get digital, consumers changing. We are calling this the year of reconciliation, or the year of convergence in some form or shape, where both e-commerce players have come to terms with saying, what is it that physical can bring to us, and we start to understand and do business together in a better manner. And so have brick and mortar retailers tried to understand and build in, saying that online is not disappearing anywhere, it's not a business model that's unsustainable, it's not, we need to build out and work together and see what's the best for the consumer and offer those solutions. So I think with that, really just talking about a few things, talking a little about the consumer, talking about what companies are doing, and really what could be on the CEO agenda, our view, what are the questions that you should be asking yourselves. So clearly, I mean, digital has spurred a creative reinvention of consumer habits, if I might, right? India is seeing a very, very large number of shopping transactions online. Consumers were very predictable, had a very set way of doing things. Digital has changed that very, very significantly, made them rethink their habits. We have an ability, we have a middle class growing up in the country which possibly didn't grow up with that much disposable income, but today has ability to purchase, has a lot of technology at their beck and call, and is really trying to figure out how does it deal with all of this and deal with the rest of the world. So clearly online shopping building on, but that does not really mean that offline is going anywhere. For the last 5 or 6 years that we've been doing this survey, very interestingly, what we see this year, and this is an across the world number, in-store retail is actually, people are choosing to go back to stores very aggressively. So 44% of consumers in this, the first bar graph, are saying that they are actually wanting to go to a store every week. So the frequent shoppers are really going back to stores, visiting stores. And it's been very visible in the holiday seasons across the world this year in 2017. It is visible in some of the experiential stores and experiences that we are seeing in India and building down. At the same time, of course, e-commerce is growing fast. Online is picking up as business, both for physical retailers as well as the traditional, well, can't really call them traditional, but traditional e-commerce players in the world. So really, what are these consumer habits that are reinventing themselves? What is it that's changing? So I think some of the habits fundamentally remain, right? The value-conscious consumer, India itself, one of the possibly the most value-conscious consumers in the world, they are increasing their circle of search, right? They are going after more channels. They are trying to search for deals, discounts, better value. Where can they find it? It is given more and more options of channels, given more and more options of targetives, the circle of search is going on increasing. Talk about some of this. Instant gratification. Clearly, as some companies offer it, more consumers desire it. They believe that if I feel like shopping now, let me shop now. Why should I wait for my next excursion to the store? They want to shop now. They want to shop on whatever device they are on. They want to shop on at that time. At the same time, they're not waiting for deliveries, right? They're wanting here and now solutions. It talks the numbers around this. Complexity reduction. I think this is probably my biggest takeaway from survey and discussion this year. As choices increase, and if you look at India, you look at the number of SKUs going up dramatically, whether it's food and grocery, whether it's fashion and apparel, whether it's consumer electronics, whether you look at any categories, the number of SKUs are going up dramatically year on year. And you have these consumers who are urbanizing on one end, well-traveled on another end, but they are walking into these stores and they see a lot of unfamiliar inventory. They don't know. They don't know these products. They know some of them, they're trying to buy some of them, they're trying to trust some of them. They get online, somebody helps them search, somebody helps them curate. That's that advice they're looking for. There are some retailers, high-end cosmetic retailers, for example, trying to spend a lot of time helping consumers, trying to narrow that search, give them the advice, influence the search, tell them what is right for you. But is more of offline retail really thinking about that? Are we helping consumers reduce complexity? That is something they are seeking in droves. Convenience, of course, making it easy. One device to rule them all. Mobile continues to grow, continues to be the way of life, more and more so for Indian consumers. Not just are they browsing on it, not just are they searching on it, they're shopping on it, they're paying on it, they're using it for offline transactions. And of course, it's becoming harder and harder to trust with that much data out there. Let's just look at some data points around each of these, right? So, gratifications, instant gratifications, driving for faster desire. More than 40% of respondents across the world are saying they would pay an extra charge for same-day delivery. And the Indian value-conscious consumer who's actually should be, who you probably expect to be lower than this 41% number is actually higher than this 41% number. There are more who are willing to pay for same-day delivery. They are clearly asking and saying that, you know, if we get the gratification, we'll get that. With 10 million Prime subscribers, Amazon Prime, it's the largest single market for Amazon Prime. People are willing to pay for services. People are willing to pay for this gratification. There is an ability to build down that. As choices increase, clearly the desire to reduce complexity. Where is the consumer going to reduce complexity? I mean, the earlier way of life was you carried a peer along, you carried somebody along from your family to visit the store, look with you, say, what kind of, does this dress look good on me? Well, today you're doing that on social media in droves, building down very large numbers. Again, this is a global number of 37% social network search. Critical influence of peer networks, this number in Asia is upward of 55%. This is, social networks are the single most critical sphere of influence. In how do you really build that into the physical store as well? Are we thinking about reducing this complexity, building peer-to-peer understanding at the store level? I mean, why do we not have dresses and products at store that can actually tell you how many people liked it? You can put a price tag on it, you put a lot of other tags on it. Why can't you put a like tag on it that explains how many people like that? That just helps you make that choice easier. Unbiased advice clearly gains currency. We heard about micro markets earlier. We heard about understanding consumers significantly better earlier. One of the things that consumers are clearly saying to search is that give us unbiased advice. Don't, just because we come closer to you, just because you understand us better today, don't come and push a product to us. Be close to us, but be unbiased in what you're giving us advice. They don't like, especially when you're close to store, they don't like brand push, communication push to them at that point of time. Of course, the growth story of mobile, we've seen every year. I've been seeing the presentations here for the last 5 years at least. The charts only keep topping each other every year in terms of how mobiles are going over each other. I'm calling out to say that it has become the all-pervasive tool, the one ring to rule them all. It will become the tool to really run all your other devices, all your other formats and pieces, whether it's walking into store, whether it is paying. There is a very large number. 50% of all respondents are saying they would like to complete transactions at store on the mobile phone. It's already going up significantly on the e-commerce front. 29% of transactions driven by some of the initiatives that the country has taken as well. But clearly moving down that path, there is a very large desire for mobile payments. Using that ubiquitous tool to try and drive messaging in store, try and drive advisory in store, there is a lot more that can be done with that asset in hand while a consumer visits a store that retailers need to be thinking about. Clearly, one of the big factors, given all of this data, given the all-pervasive tool, given the desire for more and more capture of data, more and more understanding of consumers, the biggest question in consumers' mind is, who do we trust and what do we trust? So there is one degree of, if I can say, data security and data privacy kind of questions that are in consumers' minds, driven by saying that, who should I trust and give my data to? At the same time, as consumers move in, as we urbanize, we are looking at 40% urbanization in T25. We just saw some large numbers on cities, and those cities becoming larger. People coming from smaller cities, moving into the larger cities, who do they trust? They had a local retailer, they had a local person who they could talk to and buy stuff from. That's who they trusted. They are looking for brands to trust. The largest number of consumers are putting their trust behind brands, whether it's a trust of a retail brand, whether it's trust of a manufacturer's brand. But it is the brands that they are putting their trust behind. And do we see enough brand trust being built, for example, by retail private labels? There is a lot of retail private label out there, but are they marketing and really building trust? Are they going behind these consumers in as efficacious a manner as they potentially can? And of course, privacy, data security, interference, ensuring safety of all of that is something that is critical. People don't shop on places where they don't feel their data is secure. We see responses from multiple players to these consumer trends. You see investments on the channel what I call channel convergence or reconciliation, really, to say online retailers going offline, Pepperfry opening stores offline, Van Heusen Studios introducing a large degree of technology elements in their store to make the experience far more immersive. Amazon opening bookstores to try and go back with their bestsellers into physical stores, try and get the experience of book buying infinitely better. Online and offline players shaking hands. Flipkart, Walmart, the largest announcement this year. And I see Shoji just walking in with Future Group buying Coobs, Amazon stakes in Shopper Stop. So clearly, as I said, the reconciliation or the convergence is happening very much in front of us. Also, the global power play is strengthening in India. There is increased investments in Indian retail. The Walmart acquisition of Flipkart, Berkshire's investment in Paytm, Alibaba is looking at BigBasket, Amazon's expected to buy another grocery chain that's in the papers every day. IKEA's launched a store, a large store in India. So this convergence, the consumer habits that we are looking at, there is clearly response from Indian retailers and global retailers for this excitement in India. There is experiential pieces being built out very clearly. We talked about whether it's with cafes and play zones by IKEA, which they've opened in India as well. Whether it is players like Kanuk, which is a Parka brand, really a cold wear brand. They have a cold store within their store to help consumers try in extreme weather conditions that their product works or not works. Or is it Frank & Oak, which is really trying to do premium coffee and barbershop experiences to extend the value proposition or extend the experience. I think the critical thing to remember here on the experience front, and a lot of retailers are trying to do this right now, changing the role of the store and building out experiences. But the question is, how does it extend your value proposition? Is it experience for the sake of experience, or is it extending your value proposition? In each of these, whether it's IKEA trying to get consumers to spend more time at store, whether it's Kanuk to say that, our product works, tested in extreme conditions, whether it's Frank & Oak to say, here's the extension of our brand. If it fits with the value proposition of the store and what you're offering, the experience fits. If it's experience for the sake of an experience, consumers are rejecting and walking to other stores very quickly. Cross-industry actions shipping as well. Clearly, retailers are not remaining retailers anymore. Across industries, we're seeing this. Companies are acquiring or investing in industries other than themselves. CVS buying a health insurer in the US, Target buying Shipt, which is a delivery company. Jio, of course, started as a telecom provider, has made a large launch announcement for sort of hybrid offline to online e-commerce platform. So competition is coming from everywhere. There is convergence of industry, there is convergence of channel, there is convergence of formats, so there is convergence of multiple sides, and you need to be looking at competition from many, many different lenses, not just the traditional lens of what you've been seeing in the past. So given the consumer trends, given the sort of reactions that we see from competition, what could be 2 or 3 things really on the CEO's agenda? What could be the questions on your mind? Based on our conversations with the CEOs in India, there are a few things that we believe clearly stand out as what they give as advice. One, clearly on the strategy front, don't let the past limit how you think about your future. The last 10 years have been very, very significantly different. Of people launched, became successful, tried to expand, got stuck with the retail and real estate wars, trying to expand the business, build the retail business, then spent the next couple of years contending with e-commerce, changed out plans, thinking of it on an incremental basis. Well, that's not the way forward. The way forward is really rethinking this opportunity. We are living in an environment of where at most conservative estimates go from $800 billion to $1,000 billion of retail in this country. And again, if I take any estimate, you're talking about $80 to $100 billion in sales being added every year in the retail business. Well, we don't have a single format that's greater than 2 billion in the country right now. So the opportunity is immense for anybody. And even if I'm off on these numbers by 10 to 20%, the opportunity is still very, very large. The question is really to think and move. I think the second piece is really saying that look at your strategy, but define your winning capabilities. Very clearly, you need to, as retailers, think about saying, what are my winning capabilities? We can't just think about saying that, we will get the strategy, we will get a proposition, and we will win. Well, you have to have certain defining capabilities that you do better than anybody else. That will be your way to win towards this. Building out the right cost structure. Not all costs are bad. Very often we see too many retailers trying to cut costs across the board. Let's shave 10% across the board. Doesn't work like that. You have to invest in costs that are right. You have to invest in capabilities that are right, over-invest in those, eliminate the ones that are table stakes, and work the ones that don't work. And of course, all of this doesn't come into place if you don't have the right organization or operating model working for you. The organization's DNA, both informal and formal, is critical to building out what you really work with and impact the business with. So that's really the pieces I wanted to share today. Thank you very much for a patient hearing. We have more details of this report and the discussions. Happy to talk as and when you guys feel free to connect. Thank you very much.